Hey guys, welcome back to Mindfully Well with Mel. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something I see in almost every single client I work with and something I've experienced myself too. We spend so much of our lives believing that our body is a problem, that if we could just fix how it looks, we would feel better. I don't know how many times I thought to myself, if I could just lose these 5 or 10 pounds, I'd feel better. Then I'd feel confident. Then I'd feel clear. Then I'd feel motivated, rest, or just plain old happy. But actually, that was never true. And the truth is that many of the times why I didn't feel good in my skin when I didn't feel good is that there were symptoms going on. But what if your symptoms weren't failures, but simply messages? Communication from your body that it wants to be heard and it wants you to listen and do something different. There's a pattern that I keep noticing. My clients will begin to feel so much better. They'll sleep at night, they wake up and they have energy. They start choosing healthy foods in a natural, authentic way without force, without micromanagement. It just like starts to become who they are, which is everything that they wanted, right? When you have this natural, intuitive drive to eat healthy, that becomes a way for you to bridge trust with yourself. There's been so many instances likely in your life that you wish that you could just trust yourself to follow through on a healthy diet, eating plan, XYZ. And the reason why it doesn't is because you're trying to make this diet plan fit into your life and your body that maybe it wasn't actually meant for. When instead, when we work with you, when we work with your symptoms, when we work with the communication in your body, we start to actually develop your intuitive nature to choose healthy foods that sit well with your body and your body loves and enjoys. And it becomes who you are. That's the goal, right? Not to make something else outside of you try to fit within you. We want to allow you to become more of who you are. And when you do that, your actions just naturally line up and you get to build that trust that you've always wanted to have with yourself. So my clients are doing the things, they're feeling better, like check all the boxes. Everything's great. They're lifting weights, they're building muscle, they're walking, they're getting outside, they're understanding their stress, and yet they still feel like something is wrong. And it's because of how their body maybe looks. It's because of fat around their belly area. It's because maybe their arms jiggle a little bit more than what they think they should. It's because when they sit down, maybe they take up more space in a chair than what their mind tells them is okay or is worthy or valuable or lovable, or maybe that is like valid of being seen by others. Even after all of this progress that they're making and they actually feel better in their bodies, they can't see how much they've changed and grown and how much better their body actually is, how good it is to feel good in your body. And the reason is because they're measuring their where they are right now to a standard that was likely set to them, to us, by the dieting culture as young girls, that this is what your body should look like. When your body looks like this, then you're healthy. When your body is in this BMI category, like those green little stupid charts at the doctor's office, then you'll feel better. Right? Like then you can have permission to love yourself. And we're just rooting this measurement on what we think we should look like instead of what we actually should feel like in our body. And that's when it really hits me and it comes to me. And I'm like, listen, your body is not wrong because of how it looks. It never was. It never will be. Your body is not a problem. The only problem is the conditioning that you've had telling you that your body should look a certain way in order to be valuable, loved, feel comfort in your skin. When you hold your body to a standard that it was actually never meant to meet, like being small, wearing a certain size, being lean, not having cellulite, feeling tight, being quieter, the toning that you look after, like all of those things. When you are holding it to a standard that your body not necessarily was ever created to look like, you will continue to keep yourself in a spiral of shame. And whenever we feel shame, that's one of the lowest vibrating emotions. Whenever we feel shame, the actions are never a loving action, right? Because shame is not a good feeling, right? Shame is a bad feeling. Shame, like nobody wants to feel shame. But when we feel shame, our actions from shame are usually going to demonstrate that we should feel shameful. It's going to like re solidify that feeling. And so that will be actions of making sure that we continue to feel bad in our bodies. So you might be doing all the right things for you and your body and how you want to live your life, and you're checking the boxes. And then you see yourself in the mirror and you immediately get a thought saying, that's wrong. My body shouldn't look like that. And you think, I've done all this work and I still don't feel the way I think I should feel because I just got a message from my mind saying that my body shouldn't look like this. And now I just feel a lot of shame. I feel very bad. And when you feel that shame, you're going to go out and you're going to re-solidify that feeling of shame. And so then that will look like, now I'm just going to say F it. And all the meals that I've prepped for myself this week that help me feel balanced and calm in my body, I'm going to just order some pizza tonight. Because why? What's the point? And then I'm going to get some ice cream. And then I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm going to skip my workout. And I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to feel pretty bloated. And I'm going to feel uncomfortable in my body, and I'm going to be even more mad at myself. And so now I'm going to skip and I'm going to hit snooze. And it's just one day. It's fine. I'm going to get back on track later. So then you skip breakfast, you grab a coffee on the way to work, and then you get to lunch and you're starving and you just eat whatever is quick and easy and accessible to you. And then you end up with a blood sugar crash in the afternoon. So you grab some cookies or something very sweet that brings your blood sugar back up, only to crash again later when you get home from work, and you spiral and you do this for several weeks until you get to a point when you have this realization that you're like, WTF, what did I just do? I actually was feeling really good. Why did I just let it all go? Why did I just go backwards like 10 steps? What actually happened? And the only thing that happened was that we just didn't catch that initial thought that your body was wrong because of what it looks like. And we just let your mind take over, right? We just let that conditioning of your mind believing that your body should look a certain way in order to feel a certain way. And then it just took off after that. And so I want you to know that this has likely happened to you many, many times, right? That this is something that is deeply ingrained with you, and that there's nothing wrong with you because you have this conditioning, because you already believe this. Many of us believe this. I mean, I still catch myself believing these things, right? I will still have thoughts of, oh I can't believe my thighs look like this. I can't believe this dimple is still here. And then I catch that thought. And instead of running with it and then allowing myself to sulk in that discomfort, instead, I will choose to drop into my body and say, what is my body actually saying to me today? And if actually my energy is good, my thoughts are clear, I went for a walk outside today. Like those things that I just truly love and I love feeling in my body, it does not matter that there's a dimple on my thigh, nor will it ever matter. It doesn't matter that when I sit down, my tummy folds over my pants sometimes. It does not matter that sometimes when I sit down, I think, wow, these pants have gotten maybe a little more snug than they were last time. Those things are not the end all be all, and don't give me permission to feel or not feel good in my own body and in my own skin. So when we hold our body to this standard that it maybe was never meant to meet, right? So that being small, lean, tighter, quieter, you're going to keep yourself stuck in that spiral of shame, and you're going to find yourself doing those actions to re-solidify that feeling of shame, all because of that conditioned thought that your body is wrong based on what it looks like. When you stay in that cycle of shame and finding yourself sabotaging and going backwards, you actually stop your body from doing what it was designed to do on why it's actually here. Your body was made to move. It was made to create. It was made to feel. It was made to live out your purpose. It's not here to be a certain size. It's not here to shrink into a box in order for somebody else to maybe perceive you as being more lovable or accepted or valuable. And also, FYI, it never is actually perceived that way. You're the one with the conditioning. You're the one seeing yourself in that way. It's very unlikely that anyone else around you is. And when we spend decades ignoring the truth on what our body is actually here to do, right? To move, to create, to feel, to live, to experience, when we ignore that, our body doesn't give up on us and decide to just stop creating. It doesn't decide to just stop feeling. It doesn't decide to stop living, right? But what it does do is it gets louder because you haven't been listening before. And it speaks to you through symptoms. Symptoms are simply communication. They're just your body talking to you. So many times, as a nurse coming from working in the hospital and working at clinics, we see symptoms as big problems that need to be fixed, and we try to fix them right away. And that's just how the Western world has operated. Fix the problem right away. We don't really need to understand anything about it. We just need to shut it off. And so, in order to get these symptoms to stop talking to us, we want to take medication right away. We want to have surgeries right away. We want to just fix it as fast as possible with the least amount of effort. And it looks like numbing out any sort of symptom that our body is trying to tell us. And symptoms are communication. Symptoms are how our bodies talk to us. Could you ever imagine like having somebody come in to, I don't know, your office at work, or come into, maybe you could imagine this actually, now that I'm starting to talk about it, come into your office at work, we'll go with this. And they're communicating to you through words, which is a normal way of accepting of how we communicate as humans to each other. And you were like, I actually don't want this communication from you anymore. I will just shut my door and ignore this, right? And that's just how we operate with our bodies as well. Shut this down. I don't want to feel this anymore. I don't know what this means. I don't want to understand it. I'm going to take a pill. I'm going to go have XYZ procedure done. I'm going to go do this. And I don't want to understand anything that's going on deeper, because that actually feels more unfamiliar. That actually feels more scary. That actually feels a lot more out of my control. But the truth is, by numbing out these symptoms that we're having, and by just taking a pill or having a procedure or whatever, not understanding why this is happening and going to that root cause, we actually don't get rid of the symptom. We just get rid of the noise. We just can't hear it anymore. And the more we continue to numb out and tune out those symptoms that our body is trying to tell us, the further and further away we get from knowing and living and being very authentically ourselves within our skin. And the last time I checked, every single woman I know wants to be fully herself inside of her skin. She wants to feel like her body is hers. She wants to feel at home in her skin. But the more we try to numb out these symptoms and not understand them and what's underneath and what we could actually heal, the further we will ever get from being in that space in our body. So many times we make these symptoms mean that it's a sign of us getting older, and that can feel scary because when we get older, eventually we die. And as humans, that's probably one of the ultimate things of the unknown, and anything unknown to our mind and body just feels very scary. And so the older we get, the closer we get to death, which feels very unnerving, right? So when we acknowledge that maybe these symptoms are because we're getting older, that can feel like something we want to shut off. I want to ignore that. And also, it's not my fault, right? Like, it's not my fault that I got older. So it's not my fault that these symptoms are happening. And it's not my responsibility to have to figure it out. Or Maybe we blame ourselves for past behaviors. Oh, it's because I just couldn't eat healthy when I was pregnant. I couldn't get my shit together when my kids were toddlers. And then my kids went to school and my schedule was crazy. And then work took off and we blame circumstances outside of us. And maybe we also bring it inward and we start to kind of play that mean girl talk with ourselves and say, you're just not disciplined enough. You just can't get it together enough to be able to follow through. This is just who you are. But really, what's happening here by blaming either the outside world, blaming our genetics, blaming our body, blaming ourselves, is that we're not actually listening to what our body is telling us with these symptoms. We're trying to out-reason why we don't want to be responsible for these symptoms. We're trying to out-reason why we actually don't want to understand our body. And we are overriding our body's communication system. And then it has to begin to shout. And usually, unfortunately, that's when people will start to come to me. My clients will start to come to me is because their body is shouting and they maybe feel more helpless or more hopeless on how to figure out what is it actually telling them. Many times at this point, you've been running on stress hormones for years. And this probably looks like skipping meals, not sleeping at night, powering through with coffee, ignoring your own physical, emotional, and mental needs, restricting foods through dieting, punishments through movements. I'm just going to work out really hard for 6 weeks, never resting, never allowing your body to recuperate. And then those symptoms become much louder, right? We've all heard that saying before, listen when your body whispers so you don't have to, succumb when it screams at you. But many times we just wait until that point. And then it looks like chronic fatigue. It looks like cravings that feel out of your control. It looks like sleep that is not restorative and it doesn't simply happen. Mood swings where it just feels like it's out of your control. Like you're fine 1 minute and then the next minute you're like, I just had an out of body experience. I'm sorry, family, that just happened. Brain fog. You have some thoughts up here, but they just don't come out your mouth. And or you can't remember shit. Like you walk into one room and you're like, I don't remember why I was here. So I'm going to retrace my steps and see if I can figure it out. And then it doesn't. And then you get distracted and then you're ordering supplements on Amazon. And then you remember that school starts next week and you forgot to get 4 notebooks. Right. So like the brain fog, right? That's just relentless. Now, I will say from experience, for somebody who I feel very good in my skin, my health is, I feel as good as it can possibly be right now. I'm very proud of my ability to stick through with listening to my body, honoring my body, fueling my body well, moving my body well. Is that there is still something about that damn brain fog that happens after I don't even want to say 40. I want to say it started when I was 38, that the words don't come out my mouth the way that my brain thinks that they're going to. You maybe have noticed that on the podcast. Maybe you haven't. Maybe it's all in my head. I don't know. But also the walking into rooms, it happens. And then I retrace my steps. And I will say it is better than what it used to be. I used to literally be in the middle of a conversation and not even remember what I was talking about. And I will say, now that I'm going off on this tangent, is that often that was happening due to my gut. My gut was very poor for a good 2 years in my late 30s. And there's that brain gut connection where your gut is actually connected to your brain. And so my gut function was so poor that my brain could hardly even focus anymore. And so I would be talking like in the conversation with the client and I would be like, I don't even remember what I was going to say. I don't remember what we were talking about. It was so embarrassing. But the brain fog, where was I? I just went off on a tangent on brain fog. I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there that you get to a certain point and some brain fog is normal. I will say like the synapses that happen in your brain, they start to kind of quiet down at some point. But there is also a very abnormal amount of brain fog that can happen in somebody. And I can speak from experience because I had the very, very bad brain fog. And now I have what I would call normal brain fog for being a 41-year-old woman. Other signs would be like bloating, general inflammation, weight gain that just comes out of nowhere. And it's a symptomatic weight gain. because of your metabolism changing and your hormones changing, not because necessarily you changed your food intake or the quality of your foods, but just simply a symptomatic weight gain. And then apathy or disconnection from yourself, just that rather blah feeling. And this happens so often in midlife. And the reason why I know is because so many women are being put on antidepressants because of their mood and because of the apathy that they have. So just the lack of desire or motivation. And I don't think that this is necessarily a brain problem for most women. I definitely think that this is a hormonal issue and not necessarily like going in and trying to say like, oh, everyone needs HRT, which I think HRT is so beneficial for so many women, but it's a large symptom for the lack of blood sugar regularity, the lack of your gut being able to digest and assimilate your nutrients. So put your nutrients where they need to be, blood sugar regulation throughout the day. So no more highs and lows, just a steady amount of sugar in your bloodstream throughout the day instead of lots of highs and lots of lows. And it's really that lack of trust and understanding and communication of your body. When you feel so disconnected from yourself because you've been ignoring your body, because you have basically been fed up with your body, you're sick of the symptoms, you're sick of feeling the way that you feel, it of course is going to be very easy or very natural for you wanting to disconnect from your body. And so that means just like kind of checking out of your day-to-day life. And just that disconnection from having anything to like look forward to, connections in your life, just the feeling of pure joy in your life on a Tuesday afternoon. We often like wait for joy until it's a vacation or wait for joy until it's like a Saturday afternoon. And the truth is, you're missing out on 80, 90, 95% of your life of how much joy you could actually be feeling when you allowed yourself to actually feel into your body and understand your body instead of completely disconnecting from it and not wanting to be one with your body. Your body is the one that allows you to feel joy, right? That's where emotions are. And if we're not willing to sometimes feel the discomfort of emotions or the discomfort of symptoms in our body, we also disconnect ourselves from feeling good in our body. We also disconnect ourselves from the ability to cultivate joy and the ability to cultivate sustainable energy and what it just simply feels like to like feel at home and to be able to move our body with ease and to feel comfortable. Right? You can't have one without the other. And so many times we're just frustrated because we don't feel good, but we never actually want to sit down and figure out why we feel bad. When you figure out why you feel bad and you also can get a little bit closer to these symptoms, also closer to the emotions that you're feeling and understand them and process them. And this is also something I work on in my program with my clients, understanding your body, feeling your body. Guess what? Now you're willing to feel the good. Now you're willing to feel joy on a Tuesday afternoon for no reason. Like that's possible. Now, I'm not saying living in a state of joy 24/7 is going to happen. I don't think that that's ever possible. We have to have all realms of emotions and all realms of feelings, but we can't have one without the other, right? And so if you want to feel more joy, you also have to be willing to feel more ick, more discomfort and emotions, and also understanding the physical symptoms your body is telling you. So, one of the ways that you can get closer and feel more comfortable with discomfort in your body and shifting from like what's wrong with me thoughts. So notice how often you're maybe telling yourself what's wrong with me. I can speak from experience. I used to say that all the time. I just always thought something was wrong with me. I still say that a lot, and usually it's probably shifted to not what's wrong with me, but probably more to like, why am I weird? Or why am I like this? And I will say that that's a positive shift for me. If that feels like, why are you talking to yourself like that? Like, aren't you a coach? Isn't this what you do? That is actually me getting to understand myself better. Like, that's actually a loving way for me to speak to myself. Like, why am I different in this way? Why do I do these things? So, one of the most powerful shifts that you can make from what's wrong with me to what is this telling me is to see this as when you say it's what's wrong with me, it's coming from blame and criticism, right? And also remember, whenever you're blaming someone or you're criticizing someone, it's usually not taken lightly or wonderfully. Nobody loves to receive that. And usually what comes back is not actually what you want either. So instead of that, can you start to see yourself with curiosity and compassion, right? Nothing is actually wrong with you. What is this telling you? Get curious about the symptoms, get curious about the emotions and the feelings in your body, and start to understand that this is communication. When you can neutralize communication, you don't start to self deprecate everything about you. You start to be willing to understand. And it starts with just simply understanding your body's physical cues is one of the simplest and easiest ways to move into this. So what if you just started to notice your natural hunger and your natural fullness? I started to notice initially was that I didn't always have a lot of hunger in the mornings, and I wanted to feel hungry in the mornings, but it was like my body just only got to a certain hunger point. But then I also noticed, even when I would eat, that I never actually felt full either. That was not me blaming myself. That was me understanding my fullness and my hunger cues in the morning. Both were very neutral in the mornings. But when I got to the evenings, neither was neutral, right? They both were extreme. There would be high hunger and there would be high fullness. Curious, how can I make this more neutral throughout the day? If I am willing to have neutral, like my body's willing to feel very neutral about hunger and fullness in the morning, which means, like, let's just say on the hunger scale, before I started eating, I was a 5. When I finished eating, I was a 6. Like nothing really dramatically changed when I would eat in the morning. How can I move some of this fullness that I feel at the end of the day into my morning and be willing to feel more full after my morning breakfast and eat more till I got to about a 7 or an 8? And I know that that would be substantial enough for me to get until lunchtime. I would have several hours of not needing a snack. I actually could be very productive. My brain power was there, my focus was there, my energy was there. And also fueling my workouts in the morning too also came with it. And if I could load some of this fullness earlier on in the day, would that ease some of my hunger later on in the day? Now, notice that this simple shift of me understanding my physical body and actually has nothing to do with numbers other than like trying to orientate my hunger scale. But that hunger scale is based on the feelings inside of my body, right? I'm not trying to hoard a bunch of macros. I'm not trying to hoard a bunch of calories. I'm getting intuitive on my body. I'm trying to understand what my body is telling me and seeing how can I actually use this beautiful mind of mine and use it to the benefit of my physical body. And I'm going to move some of this fullness that I'll feel later on in the day and move it up to the fullness that I want to feel in the morning. And naturally, what will happen is that I will actually have less hunger later on in the day because I've basically fulfilled my body's nutrient needs earlier. And that will ease the amount of fullness that I feel in the evenings as well, which I don't want to feel that, right? I want to have more neutral feelings in the evenings. Now, that being said, this has to do with food and physical signs and symptoms. This doesn't have anything yet to do with emotions or my stress, like my mental capacity to hold things at the end of the day either. So just keep in mind that this is not neutralizing my emotions. This is just trying to neutralize some of the physical feelings that I'm having in these parts of my day. Other things to start understanding with your body cues would be understanding your cycle and your ebbs and your flows. So with your menstrual cycle, you will have natural energy ebbs and flows. Many times we start to take it very personally, or we start to blame ourselves because our energy is very low, because our workouts feel like crap, because our cravings are higher, because we are not feeling full or we're not feeling satisfied in our bodies when we eat. And all of a sudden we start to then blame ourselves. But if we turn into curiosity, what is this telling me? And you're like, oh, actually, I know where I'm at in my cycle and this makes complete sense. We can start removing that criticism out of it. We can get curious and we can see our body with compassion and being like, oh, actually, maybe my body is trying to tell me something, which FYI, if it's the luteal phase of your cycle, so that week before your period starts, that's a very classic time when your body actually does need more calories. It's getting ready for a pregnancy, even if you're not trying to get pregnant or you're not pregnant, your body doesn't care. That's what it's getting ready for. Or B, it's getting ready for a period. Both are energetically depleting and they both need more calories. Your period cycle, your menstrual cycle is a caloric need. It does take more calories to have a period. It's also more inflammatory. Your body needs more calories to move through that period. Can you see why now you feel the way you feel before your period comes? It's not you. You're not a problem. Actually, and your hormones aren't the problem either here. This is just you not listening to what your body needs. And then when you understand and you listen, now you can see yourself with compassion and you don't have to try to mean girl yourself out of your luteal phase, which I don't know. Last time I checked, that's not helpful either. The other thing as well is understanding your body cues, is understanding your nervous system signals. So understanding when you are in a fight or flight state. So this could be that you're pushing really hard. You're very reactive. You feel very irritable, maybe like just antsy in your skin, feel like you got to go, maybe more moody, more reactive. And then the other state of your nervous system of fight or flight, the opposite of that would be like freeze. So when are you having trouble finding any motivation? When are you very apathetic? When are you in a low vibration mood? When are you trying to conserve energy? When are you sleeping a lot? When are you just like very inward? And is that a way is your body trying to protect you from something, right? Is it trying to protect you from a recent fight or flight state when you were in overdrive, right? And now you've shifted all the way over into a freeze state. And so when you start to understand, I was doing that and now I'm doing this, now you understand where you are in your nervous system regulation. And when you know this and you understand this, you can actually just use the tools, the nervous system tools that I teach you to help regulate you instead of more judgment and criticism among yourself. When you become an expert in your own body and you understand the cues, the symptoms, the emotions, all of those things, you don't have to try to escape it. You can understand it. You get the answer also very soon versus going outside of yourself and trying to find somebody to tell you that, yes, you are wrong. You should take this medicine. Yes, that is bad. You should probably have this removed, XYZ, right? Like you become the authority and the expert of your own body. And yes, definitely still use Western medicine. Please go out and if an organ needs to come out, you should probably take it out. But do we need to necessarily jump to conclusions all the time with medications and pills and trying to find this quick fix answer just so we can escape the noise is where I want you to see that it's a possible thing that you want to start looking at. When you stop trying to fix yourself because you think that your body is wrong and you start to understand yourself, you really stop chasing the things you don't even want, right? You stop running from your body and you get to start to come home to it. You start feeling like you again. It starts to feel familiar. And when you feel, like really feel, you also get to really feel good. And that's what this work is about. It's about helping you feel good in your body, not because of what it looks like, but how it feels so good to actually live in it. So if you're listening to this today and you're feeling disconnected and rather apathetic and just checked out of your body, I want you to hear this. Your body is not wrong. It is wise. It is loyal to you. It is doing the best it can to keep you safe. It knows exactly what to do. And it wants to feel good too. And it's just trying to help you. So for today, what if you stopped trying to fix and instead you just started to listen? All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you next week.